The banking sector is boiling again. After the New York Community Bank has now lost more than 60% in value within just 7 days, it is now also the case that the Deutsche Bank has already lost 10% within just 2 days, and at the same time, the Deutsche Pfandbriefbank has lost 17% in just 1 week. Does the expected banking crisis, which we have already talked so much about in 2024, now enter the next round? We'll discuss all of this, as I said, in this video. And the impact this banking crisis might now have on your savings, on our money accounts, on our bank accounts in Germany primarily, you'll find out in this video. I'm Benjamin.
My name is Hannes Hoertnagl. Let's see what's coming. How is the banking crisis and when does it start?
The topic of the banking crisis is getting really hot again because, as I said, we have already mentioned Deutsche Bank or the Deutsche Pfandbriefbank. And now the banking crisis is no longer active only in the United States of America, but once again at home in Germany. Currently, 8% of all freely tradable shares of Deutsche Pfandbriefbank located in Munich are being sold short, reflecting a notable trend in the market. So there are already very, very big bets on this bank or even on Deutsche Bank that now another banking crash will happen, even in Germany. And we also have a graphic, which we will now display, where you can see very well what happened with the Deutsche Pfandbriefbank. Experienced a substantial drop from 10 euros to 4.63 euros, while simultaneously the ratio of short selling continues to rise steadily. A very, very alarming trend that we will give a very, very deep insight into today. What is also very worrying is that the so-called Ariel Bank AG, which by the way is based in Wiesbaden, is now also under great pressure due to its significant involvement in the commercial real estate market. Deutsche Pfandbriefbank is regarded as the European bank that is, by a large margin, the most active in the commercial real estate market in the United States in terms of its size and overall loan portfolio. She is basically, so the Deutsche Pfandbriefbank, perfectly suited as a vehicle to see what is currently happening in this market. Stock price keeps falling and falling and falling, already reached new low again. At time of this video today, recording all of this here. And Hannes, about commercial real estate in general, we already have to talk a little bit about the topic because commercial real estate has come under a lot of pressure due to the sharply rising interest rates since 2022, but of course also due to COVID. The trend towards remote work has also weakened commercial real estate significantly because the demand for these properties has decreased and of course the rental income has also fallen. And this is more or less the perfect collapse, or how should I say, the perfect Armageddon scenario for the commercial real estate market. And we have a lot of work to do here because until 2026, half of all commercial real estate loans reach their expiration date and require repayment. This implies that each and every one of these 50% of commercial real estate loans must be refinanced by the year 2026 at the latest. And we are talking here about a sum of 1 lumen of $500 billion, which will be striking. And this naturally has major consequences because as a result, this market is now becoming increasingly volatile in this very moment in 2024. And of course, total failures are also looming, and many banks simply have to write this off as losses. When that occurs, it often crashes. This is essentially the so-called perfect storm currently impacting banks with substantial exposure in the commercial real estate market. And the two German banks we mentioned, namely Deutsche Bank and Deutsche Pfandbriefbank, have also announced last week that their provisions have now been increased because they simply have to write off the losses. And the commercial real estate market in the USA, as well as in Europe in general, is in the biggest crisis since World War II. We don't need to hide that. This is a big thing happening here right now, and in our opinion, it is being discussed too little, even in the media. And all banks that currently have a high number of mortgage transactions in the commercial real estate sector will now incur very, very large losses. And this is not a subject for 2025, guys. This is a subject for the present, spring 2024. And even the German Banking Supervisory Authority, BaFin, announced this week that it is clearly monitoring the turbulence currently taking place in the commercial real estate market. A spokesperson from BaFin mentioned, and I quote, that even highly specialized business models or a poor selection of objects by the banks could potentially put individual institutions in trouble, as stated by BaFin. We have already seen the Signa holding, as mentioned in Europe, which has already collapsed and is being dismantled, but now it is affecting more and more the banking sector and also larger banks. According to several analyses we have conducted, the current credit exposure of European banks for commercial real estate amounts to 1.4 trillion euros. This represents 9% of the overall credit demand that was observed during the first half of 2023. This is a significant quantity, and a majority of it is owned by the large publicly traded banks in Europe. So it's very intense and very, very crazy.
Benjamin, I need to intervene briefly and address something that truly bothers me a little bit. Specifically, you state that a significant collapse can be triggered by the real estate issue in the banking sector. And then we'll see how the media and towards our banks. And what statements are there? No statements. We watch the Super Bowl, we talk daily about the war in Russia and how Putin will immediately invade Berlin and many, many other things of the false propaganda from Tucker Carlson and other things. However, nobody discusses it. What is the reason for the lack of discussion? Additionally, how will all of these factors impact ordinary investors?
And that's the big topic, Hannes. It is not talked about. And if we look at the European Banking Association, for example, several analysts currently say that non-performing loans from commercial real estate are about approximately 38% are covered by provisions. However, what about the remaining 62%? Are they not covered? Which banks will still fall? Where are zombies really located in ground here? This is big topic, people. It is now hitting here right in the middle of spring 2023, still in winter, but definitely now into the next few months. And now we will also show you a graphic that we will display where we take a look at where the largest credit defaults are currently worldwide. In which sector? We can see in this graphic that real estate here, with 220 billion in loans that are really at risk of default, far exceeds sectors such as software and services, which only have 38 billion in risky loans on their books. Or for example, healthcare with only 28 billion, or pharmaceuticals with 25 billion. So we truly have the mammoth among the sectors here, which is currently starting to waver and show signs of instability. And that is a massive topic, as I mentioned, that we need to revisit today. And naturally, we are aware that all of these loans are interconnected in some way. That implies you are unaware of the bank that truly possesses the items recorded in their books. And that was like, oh wait, suddenly a small thunderstorm. They said, it's not so bad, everything is fine. Even Janet Yellen has already brushed it off and said, no, it won't be that bad, and therefore we don't trust it at all. On the contrary, there will be a lot of stress in the coming months. And as in the gold update, by the way, linked up there, the last gold market update was said by us, so I can really quote here, how will they sell us the extension of the bank term funding program? How will you sell us the new money printing? And please, here we have been served on a silver platter. We have been served something that, of all times, a month before, when the bank term funding program expires, suddenly a crisis arises again, where one might be forced to reverse again. Until March, it gets exciting in the markets. Many things coming, supposed to sell us again. Get ready for an exhilarating time in the markets, guys. It's about selling, that you have to print money again, that you don't turn off the program now, but simply extend it to keep the party going in the election year 2024. And Hannes, what we know with a 95% probability for sure, we can definitely say here in this video that the central banks and governments want to throw money out with full hands in 2024, but they also will, but they especially want to. And let's not forget that 2024 is the super election year in this world, and no politician needs a crisis right now, but much, much more on the contrary. He needs an economic boom. And you can only do that by inducing an artificial crisis, in which you then give the reaction, printing money to get a nice boom again.
And now it's up to you. It is clear that one has to make a decision if one now starts to take action, if one wants to continue to be in this bubble, this manipulative propaganda lie, where one then gets an answer, yes, he is to blame for it and he is to blame for it. I still remember, Benjamin, how Christine Lagarde, the currency guardian of Europe who was convicted of corruption, clearly said, no, we will not have inflation problems, issues in Europe. And a few weeks later, we all witnessed what rolled over us. And that was indeed the start at the bottom. The whole thing continues. is played out further, and now one can simply decide whether to continue believing in this media propaganda, to continue being incited against Russia, against COVID, against the climate, against whatever, or whether to do one thing, and that is to recognize things, to connect things, and then draw conclusions from them in order to become winners of the upheaval. We specialize in Investinbest. We desire to reconnect things. We want to connect markets, real economy, and markets. Connect mindset and skill set. However, we also desire to connect the individuals who have awakened, who express the desire to engage, construct, and influence a future to one another in order to establish a network that will avert these grievances that we observe presently in politics, economy, and media from occurring in the upcoming times.
Yes, and you can see which asset classes react to the banking crisis. We have Bitcoin here almost at $50,000. Crypto is rising, not just Bitcoin, but the whole sector is gaining more and more market cap. We also discussed this in detail in the weekly update. Tech stocks also show concerns about the money that is awaiting us in the year 2024. And many, many more will bring these excellent opportunities to us now in the year 2024. And what is also very important, we have recently celebrated Chinese New Year here, and the money printer is returning from China because there is currently consumer deflation in China. They have also sold the people the concept that now, in the year of the dragon, they can once again print money. This stimulus orgy, folks, will get this year. In the West, we're facing the banking crisis. This will be used to print money. The Chinese have deflation. One must stimulate the economy due to real estate issues. And so you have a nice global new money printing phenomenon, which will lead to a big boom again in 2024, and at the same time, the next wave of inflation. Call in, and I think we should all profit from these chances together, because if we don't, we can only stay at home, and then, at the end of the year, observe how much Bitcoin, cryptos, and tech stocks have increased. In this sense, Hannes, let's pass it on.
The year of the dragon signifies luck and prosperity, and this applies to all of us, not just an elitist small caste or a privileged few. In this sense, we will emerge as winners of the upheaval.
Thank you for watching. Share the vid, thumbs up, and definitely write in the comments how you currently see the banking problem in Germany.